Thank goodness.
It's been a lot.
It's been a lot, for everybody.
Mother Nature's going out with a bang in 2022.
She needs a better resolution.
Yeah.
So.
Blake's working overtime. He's tired.
So is the weather. Yeah, really. I'm not this tall. I'm never this tall next to you. I have a giant booster seat that I'm currently standing on. This is pretty amazing. You're taking over on the 6:30 tonight. We appreciate you being here.
You're stuck with me again for another night.
Hey, it's a blessing.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good night, Claire. 6:30 starts in 60 seconds.
This is KHQ Nonstop Local at 6:30. This is breaking news.
And we are following breaking news tonight. Spokane Valley police say a shooting has now put one person in the hospital in critical condition. Good evening and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm John Webb. Sean has the night off. The shooting happened near the Winter Height Apartments on Cherry Street, just off Pines, south of I-90. Police say there's a lot they still don't know, but while they are questioning a potential gunman, they haven't made any arrests. Officers say the person who got shot either drove themselves or someone drove them from Cherry Street to Plants Prairie Park, about 2.5 miles away. Detectives are in both spots now collecting evidence, and they hope to have more information to share later on tonight. Finally, the weather is warming up, but with a thaw comes challenges. Mainly all that snow has turned into water, and all that water has to go somewhere. In our 360 coverage tonight, we're looking at the water in your home and the burst pipes and leaks that a quick thaw can bring. Pipes freeze in extremely cold temperatures. That freezing alone can be enough to burst a pipe. But when the frozen water thaws, that can also be problematic because the ice expands as it warms, building pressure that becomes more than the pipe can handle. Whether the freeze or the thaw burst your pipes, that's just the start of the problem. That water can spill into walls, ceilings, basements, and cause a lot of damage. Today, I spoke with Spokane Fire Chief Brian Schaefer about the influx of 911 calls regarding residential frozen pipes. I began by asking him just how many calls Spokane firefighters have responded to so far this week.
Right now, we've surpassed 80 in the system since the 24th, since Christmas Eve. So it's been extremely busy in terms of trying to mitigate the effects of the freeze and the rapid thawing. Still dealing with that even today. We've been up to Sacred Heart and a number of others across the community.
911 is not a tool for those type of calls, I understand.
It just depends on the type of call. So if it's involving the fire suppression system, the sprinkler system, absolutely. We get automatically dispatched on those because oftentimes those pipes are also ran on exterior walls. And if they're not taped, if they're not insulated correctly or well enough, they can freeze up and cause a problem. And the other ones that occur in your home, like pipes that may be on exterior walls for domestic water, those absolutely not. That would be best just handled with a plumber. Everybody should know where your water turnoff is in your home, apartment, residence, place of business. That is what really is going to protect the property from being destroyed, or at least your contents being damaged. You need to get that water shut off right away and then call a cleanup service so that the water doesn't end up becoming mold on your drywall and inside your walls.
So some of these residential calls that, they're not supposed to be calling 911 for, does that jam up your crews?
It sure does. Each one of those 911 calls for a burst water pipe in a residential setting without involvement of a fire suppression system is probably taken the neighborhood resource out for about an hour while they respond to, they assess the situation, help the homeowner like we do. We're a service-oriented, customer-focused organization. However, there's only so many of us, and the calls are definitely overwhelming the system.
What are some other tips that you can give to residents from, preventing this to happen?
Well, right now is a good time. If you were fortunate enough to get away without having a pipe burst or pipes burst, and you're looking forward, we know this isn't the end of the cold weather in Spokane. It'd be a good time to make sure that all your pipes are insulated, that if you leave home for an extended period of time, open up below the sink, expose those pipes that are on the inside, make sure you've got enough heat on your thermostat so you don't have a freezing situation. And there are some people out there that would recommend probably leaving your water on to keep that motion just a little bit, a little drip while you're gone, just to make sure that you have ever-flowing current in those pipes so that nothing's allowed to freeze. Most often we see that when people know that they have a problem. Heat tape is another great solution. They make, it's not necessarily tape, but they call it heat tape, and it follows the pipe. You lay it right next to it and it stays warm. Those are best applied and most successful when you put them on a pipe in a normal condition like today's weather, not so much when it's already cold. So now would be a good time to do that as well.
And our thanks to Chief Brian Schaefer. For more of tonight's 360 coverage, you can head to our website. That's nonstoplocal.com. Don't forget to click on the 6:30 section. As the warm-up causes burst pipes and water issues inside homes, there is also a huge risk of flooding across our region. Let's bring in Blake Jensen in the Weather Center. Blake, I'm hearing from some friends down in Moscow who are saying that Paradise Creek is starting to crest. Some houses are even flooding.
Yeah, it crested actually earlier today, John, at 11 feet, near a record crest level for Paradise Creek. And yes, we are now getting reports of some of that flood water getting into homes and folks there actively trying to pump that water out of their homes. Also, an update on that flood warning now extended all the way through tomorrow afternoon. So while the creek has crested, it's going to take a while before it can fully come back down within the bank. So going to be dealing with impacts there through the night tonight and into and through much of the day tomorrow, likely well after for those folks dealing with the flood waters. We also still have that general flood advisory in place across much of eastern, southeastern Washington, the central panhandle of Idaho. This is more for the melting snow, all the rain that's putting water over the roadways. That's in place until 4:30 tomorrow afternoon, so still need to be careful and cognizant of that as you're driving throughout the next couple of days as well. And we're now shifting our attention to the next impact from this storm, which is the winds. Those have been ramping up, especially across southeastern Washington throughout the day. Expecting those winds to start to push up to the north and east here overnight. Tonight could see gusts up to 60 miles per hour across the Palouse. That's a high wind warning where likely means winds that strong. That could be knocking out power to several folks across the Palouse as well. So be ready for that possibility. Not quite as strong as winds around the Spokane area, gusting to 55 miles per hour, but that still could be strong enough for maybe a few power outages as well through the night and into tomorrow morning. On top of that, cooler temperatures turning this rain even in the mountains back over to snow. Could see up to a foot at the mountain passes tonight through the day tomorrow. Even some slushy snow down into our valleys of the northern panhandle of Idaho, and also still have that avalanche warning in place now extended through the day tomorrow, mainly for the northern panhandle and northwestern Montana. So again, avoiding the backcountry in those areas. All thanks to this massive storm that's reach all across the Pacific Northwest will slowly be moving out of the region tomorrow. Will actually start to dry out late tonight into tomorrow morning, but those gusty winds sticking around into Wednesday. Our next chance for some rain, snow showers coming Thursday and Friday. Temperatures cooling, and we dry out in time for New Year's weekend.
People are going to take it easy on the Palouse as they head out traveling with this high wind. So,
absolutely.
Well, thank you for keeping an eye on it. And
You're very welcome.
All right, well, let's get tonight's Big Six headlines. The Department of Transportation says it will investigate Southwest airline flight cancellations in recent days that have left passengers stranded across the nation. Although many airlines were forced to cancel flights due to the weekend winter storm, Southwest had the most problems. A Southwest spokesperson says cancellations snowballed due to the storm that impacted flight crews and planes. In the meantime, just look at some of the pictures and videos. This is the luggage pileup in Detroit, where the winter storm forced the cancellation of numerous flights. This is just one of several staging areas set up for travelers to get their bags back after they were taken off canceled flights or were lost in transit during all the cancellations over the past few days. Now, there were some initial forgiveness among travelers, but now many are at the ends of their ropes.
Totally frustrating. It looks like a complete breakdown of Southwest system, and I can't figure out why.
48 hours before we can even get it back. What are we supposed to do? It's ridiculous. It's lies. They can't even give us a direct answer.
Get your stuff together. Figure it out.
According to the tracking website FlightAware, of more than the 2,800 flights canceled in the U.S. earlier this morning, more than 2,500 were canceled by Southwest. 6 people are dead after a house fire in eastern Ohio. Fire crews were called to this house at about 1:30 local time Monday morning. The coroner's office said 6 victims were removed from the house. Piles of snow-covered debris were all that was left of the burned house after crews demolished it. There's no word on how the fire started, and the victims' identities have yet to be released. The local school district released a statement that said grief counselors would be available at the elementary school today. At least 3 young adult men are shot in Washington, D.C. today, and the search is ongoing for the juvenile suspects who fled the scene. According to officials, the incident was an exchange of gunfire that shattered the glass of a nearby market. Around 15 shell casings were marked on the sidewalk. The 3 victims were transported to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. It's believed that one of those victims may have been caught in the crossfire. An investigation is underway to determine what led up to that shooting. Police in California are investigating a mass overdose incident that happened on Christmas and sent 5 people to the hospital. Investigators say they were called to a home in San Francisco's Japantown at about 2 on Sunday afternoon. 6 people there were having a medical emergency. Paramedics administered the overdose reversal drug Narcan to the victims at the scene. Police say 2 people are in critical condition. 1 person was treated at the scene and later released. Title 42, the immigration policy allowing asylum seekers to be turned away at the border, will remain in place for now. The policy was supposed to expire last week, but 19 states submitted an emergency request to stop that from happening. The Supreme Court granted that request in a 5-4 vote. The justices say they will hear oral arguments on the case early next year and make a final decision on whether to remove Title 42 by next summer. Title 42 was invoked during the Trump presidency when the COVID-19 pandemic broke out, giving the federal government power to take emergency action to keep diseases out of the country. So far, more than 2 million people have been expelled at the border as a result. Meanwhile, former President Donald Trump's tax returns will soon be released to the public. The House Ways and Means Committee plans to release the redacted tax documents on Friday. That's according to a spokesperson from the committee. The congressional panel received 6 years' worth of returns last month after a lengthy court battle that ended with the Supreme Court ruling in the committee's favor. They're expected to include Trump's tax returns filed between 2015 and 2021. Well, with so many businesses looking to hire, finding a trained workforce can be difficult, especially when it comes to finding employees trained in STEM. Tonight, Clyde Schock shows us how Vitalant is pivoting with new hiring requirements to meet the blood center's needs.
Positions at the blood bank require different levels of education. Some lab departments require a bachelor's in science and eventual board certifications and additional schooling. Phlebotomists who draw blood need just 10 weeks of training on the job. Regional Director Jennifer Hawkins says it's a great opportunity for people coming straight out of high school to start a career. Vitalant has had to adapt in finding fast hires after significant turnover a year ago. Hawkins says STEM education is critical for these new employees who are often teenagers, new to the workforce, sometimes lacking critical thinking skills.
They really do struggle in that arena, and we talk about that frequently as management. And how are we going to add that component to our 10-week training program, which is already chock full of all these standard operating procedures and the technical aspect? How do we also add in these life skills and these professional skills and the critical thinking, because especially in this work, we have to have high-level critical thinkers.
Hawkins says the position counts as required work experience for people looking to apply to PA or medical school. And 19-year-old Ethan Hunt started at Vitalant a year ago, and he's moved up the ranks quickly with on-the-job training.
I didn't quite know what I wanted to do after I got out of high school, but I knew that I wanted to go into the medical industry in some way. So I ended up applying around and see what I could get into, and Vitalant said that they're willing to train me and they're willing to put me through all of the schooling necessary. So once I finally got in, I was super glad to be here.
And with the need in STEM education growing and so many young people like Ethan going straight into the workforce, the region is hosting an event on healthcare career pathways for students and parents about local opportunities in healthcare STEM careers. That's happening in April at Central Valley High School. And of course, we'll let you know more of the details as that date approaches. In studio, I'm Kalai Chalk, Nonstop Local.
Well, that's fantastic. Thank you, Clyde. There's still much more to come tonight on Nonstop Local at 6:30. The FDA could be cracking down on a popular supplement, the product that could be restricted, and why the agency is acting. Plus, iced in as if the snow pummeling the U.S. wasn't enough. Some buildings were totally frozen over. How it happened and how business owners are responding. But first, a powerful blaze caught on camera. What happened and what authorities know about it right after the break.
Inland Northwest STEM is sponsored by Idaho Central Credit Union, Auto Credit Sales, and Greater Spokane Incorporated.
Welcome back. Caught on camera, more than a dozen people evacuated after a massive fire ripped through a Tokyo chemical factory today. One of the workers, a man in his 50s, was taken to a nearby hospital due to the smoke inhalation. The fire is believed to have started at the plant when workers were trying to manufacture soap in a tank. It took more than 60 fire trucks on scene to put out the blaze. Talking your health tonight, the Food and Drug Administration could soon regulate the popular cannabis product CBD. CBD is a non-psychoactive chemical derived from cannabis, and it's still legal at the federal level. Other cannabis products like THC are illegal at the federal level, though some states like Washington have allowed them. Now, though, the FDA wants to regulate CBD in food and supplement products. It's according to reporting by the Wall Street Journal. The agency wants to know if CBD can be safely eaten every day while pregnant and whether it could affect future fertility. According to the report, the FDA is expected to announce new proposals regarding CBD within months. In economic news tonight, Tesla stocks continue to fall for multiple reasons. That and more in your CNBC Business Headlines.
I'm Steve Kovac, and this is your CNBC News Now. A mixed day for stocks as Wall Street nears the end of a tough year with its biggest annual drop since 2008. The Dow closed with a small gain today. The S&P ended a loss of 0.4%, and the Nasdaq finished down 1.4%. Shares of Tesla fell another 11% today, heading for their worst month, quarter, and year on record. Production problems in China due to COVID outbreaks are adding to the downward pressure on the stocks from investors who think Elon Musk is spending too much time on Twitter and not enough time on Tesla. And that's your news now.
The restaurant industry hit hard by COVID is bouncing back. A Wall Street Journal report says the restaurant industry is finally erasing job losses and closures and adding employees back. The Labor Department says all but 2.1% of establishments have returned as of last month. In November, 62,000 jobs were added to the restaurants and bars, and owners say applications have increased as well. Trending tonight, buildings across the country are being totally erased, in ice following the major snowstorms. Here's one in Green Bay area of Wisconsin. The shop called Simply Scandinavian was covered in ice after wind picked up water from Lake Michigan. The owner of the shop estimated a foot of ice had built up over 2 or 3 days. Wow.
Even though the Mother Nature has created some incredible artwork for us, it is a bit worrisome due to the weight that's on the building, but we're betting on the brave little shop doing just fine with its tough Nordic genes and pulling through for us.
Lake Erie was also splashing buildings with water, this one in a town south of Buffalo, New York. Restaurant owner Kevin Hoke said the storm started building icicles on the building Friday, and the ice just kept forming throughout the storm. Hoke says it's too early to tell what damage the ice has caused to the building.
I guess we won't know until it all melts. It's pretty heavy. That's what I'm nervous about. But nothing broke, no windows broke, no leaks. And yeah, we just got a new floor put in, and none of that was touched. So right now we're good. The only problem is the parking lot got beat up pretty bad.
I can imagine both areas are expected to see warmer temperatures this week, which should help thaw some of the ice. We're going to take a quick break here on the 6:30. Still to come tonight, a couple gets a special surprise under their Christmas tree. When something lost is found, that's in your One Good Thing. Welcome back. Caught on camera, a massive and very sweet village is on display. The world's largest gingerbread village can now be seen in New York City's Essex Market. The village features more than 750 houses with details like jelly bean roof titles and candy cane decor. It takes more than 4,000 pounds of icing to hold everything together. The creator of the gingerbread village has been building it for 25 years and adds to it every year. It will be on display for visitors until January 15th, and after that, some very lucky fans will get to take pieces with them. And your one good thing tonight, the last gift a Florida couple expected to receive this year was something long gone but not forgotten, an engagement ring lost for 21 years. All those years ago, Shayna Day accidentally flushed her ring down the toilet at her in-laws' home shortly before her now husband proposed to her. Needless to say, she went to the extreme lengths to find it, even draining the septic tank, and still nothing. Although the ring was replaced, the couple anyways wondered what happened to it. But their luck recently changed. A plumber with an eagle eye discovered the ring while replacing the toilet, which made for the perfect Christmas gift.
As I told my daughter earlier, that was kind of an ugly cry. I sat there and I was like, oh my gosh, this is my ring. This is my ring.
So when we opened it up, both of us knew exactly what it was.
They say they learned a valuable lesson and shared this advice. If you lose something, you should probably check the toilet just in case. Well, that does it for this edition of the 6:30 show. We'll see you right back here tomorrow night. I'm actually heading to McCall for the weekend, but we'll see you back here on New Year's Eve. Have a great night, everybody.